Welcome to Limitless by Gray, the podcast that empowers you to break through your barriers and unlock your limitless potential. Hi guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Limitless by Gray. I am your host, Hauwa. And we have an exciting guest today. Give it up for Lex Ash. Everybody should clap now. Hey God, you are just here. You're not even doing anything with your body.
They are not excited to see me.
Okay, you know what? I'm excited to see you, Lex Ash.
Thank you.
Welcome to our podcast.
How are you doing?
You know what? That thing, a lot of people tell me, and I want to bang their head with umbrella. Then they say, how are you? And I'm like, I know this. I know what you're doing. Okay, so welcome to our podcast. Today we have Lex Ash, who is, as you already know, an exceptional photographer. But in addition to that, he's also an NFT artist, he's a musician, he's a creative director. What do you not do? You do it all.
I don't code though.
You know what? We're going to get there, and then I'm going to tell you that you do that.
You tell me what I do.
Lex Ash, do you know that you are a creative's creative?
Interesting. Tell me about
because you do it all. You know how creatives have one thing that they do and they are really good at it.
I would argue that most creatives can do many things.
Yes, I know, but you do a lot of things. Like, it's almost like you don't have, you're not boxing yourself in. I know you. The first time I came across you, because obviously you're coming on our podcast, and I've known you before that, but I also did my own research. But the first time I met you not met you, but I knew that you were a photographer. But then I went and I researched more and more about you, and I found out that you do it all. Like, you do a lot of things that people will not even expect that you do. And I know that that's just the things that we see. And that's why I'm excited for this podcast, because I want people to see it all. I want you to tell us everything that it is that you do, and everything surrounding, and everything that brings it all together, right? So
keep talking like this, my head will be bigger than this set. So just let's focus. That's so that, you know, after the podcast you can just hit me. You can say, oh, my friend Hauwa, you know, you just like, my friend Hauwa, my friend Lex Ash. I just have your number casually. Okay, you know, you need to stop. It's an honor.
You need to stop.
You can give it, but you can't take it. It's okay.
Okay, so guys, give a welcome to Lex Ash. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
I have so many things to ask you, and I'm so excited. But let's start small. Let's start light. Tell me your story. Who is Lex Ash? Tell me everything that is involved.
Okay, so my full name, Alexander Chidebere Ashimole. So the Lex and Ash comes from my first name, Alexander, and Ashimole, my surname. I'm the second of 4 children.
You skipped being the first child.
Yes.
Gosh.
Yes.
Continue.
But they forget me sometimes. Let's not get into that. But yeah, I've been creating as far back as I can remember, but I think that a lot of my life has just been me figuring things out and learning things, and because I learn a lot, so it just applies it to like everything that I do. So I think if I was to describe myself, it's a lifelong learner. That's it. Lifelong learner. Yes.
Did you just coin that now, or
no? It's like the people use the word. Words. Yeah,
no, but
it just describes me. That's it.
Okay, so you say you're a learner, right? That's what you do. You learn throughout life.
Yes.
And so with photography, did you always know that it was something that you were interested in, or just like that you just came across it and you just started learning? And
so, like I said, I've been learning things. But I've also learned that usually most arts that I try to do, I end up doing okay at it. Sometimes really good. So I started out with, doing graphic design, and There was when I was in my first year in university and everything. That's when I picked up Photoshop for the first time. Photoshop 7, CS7. Back then, I would just do random things, search on the internet, find pictures, use that to create. But I realized then that it was difficult to find pictures of Black people. There wasn't a lot of representation of Black people in stock art or all those things. So it kind of just registered in my mind. But in my third year was when I actually kind of picked up photography. A friend of mine bought a camera, and I just liked gadgets. In fact, generally till now, I like gadgets. If I can afford it, I'll probably get it. That's usually my thing. So I would borrow his camera just to play around with. And in my fourth year, towards my fifth year, people were beginning to say, okay, you're pretty good at this. Come and take pictures of me. And that's it. That's how I picked up photography. I wouldn't say that I always knew that I could do it, but image creation has always been something that I actually like. I've loved advertising. I've loved the idea of getting people to see things a different way, and using that to influence their decisions and their thoughts about things. That's how I came into photography.
I like the fact that you said you didn't see enough representation, and that is so important, and I'm going to get there eventually. But it's just so interesting that it's almost like our skin color is not default. It's not the default thing that people want to see or that people see. And just seeing creatives, bring that representation to life is so interesting. And I think that when I see pictures of Black people and our skin color is so, it's so pretty. And I wonder why, there's just not more. But thank God for creatives like you bringing us to the limelight. So I also wanted to, but I caught something while you were explaining that you didn't just start from photography, you were doing graphic design, and that sort of also snowballed into what you do today. And that's so interesting. It's almost like your journey has not just been photography, it's been leading up to photography. And I'm sure right now it's more than photography. So tell me about the other things that you do.
Oh, interesting. Yes. So you already know I do graphics design. I also do brand building, so strategy and all of these things. I'm good at filmmaking as well. I'm a very good director. And because of my experience with photography and lighting and all these things, I apply that into everything that I do. I also do music as well. Music is kind of like one of my biggest things right now, from production to writing to actually singing. I don't play any instruments, unfortunately. Maybe the drums a little bit, maybe the conga and everything. But I also do music. I have dabbled here and there with writing poetry, stories, stuff like that. Those are the things I can think of for now.
Okay, so let's come back to photography, right?
Yes, okay.
So I know that photography is about it has elements of storytelling.
Of course.
So how do you approach photography? How do you bring these because someone can look at your photograph and they don't know anything about photography, but they can feel the story that you're trying. They see the story you're trying to tell. They know what you're trying to convey with your. So how do you approach photography? How do you tell these compelling stories?
So, like I said, I come from a background where I used to do graphic design, and to me, when I think of graphics, graphic design itself, there's a lot of layering of different items and things that help to build to giving one type of information or the other. So the approach to photography for me is seeing things as they are. So I like to either create stories or tell the stories as they exist. So for me, if I experience something and I document it, it's not just about taking fine images. It's also about helping other people to see what I saw, or kind of also imagine themselves in that space as well. Do you understand what I mean? So it's consistently just thinking as I'm creating, just thinking and saying, okay, so what's the best way to share this thing that I'm thinking? What's the best way to tell this story? So whether it's the color of the outfit I'm putting on the person, or the person themselves, or the space that they are in, or the space that I'm putting them in, that kind of thing. So I feel like lighting helps to tell the story. Depth, there's a lot of things that are the technical side of things, but then also I also feel like I put myself a lot into the work that I create. So it's like just how I think about it, how I see it, and how like it speaks to me. That's it.
I like it when people understand what it is they do, and it just feels like you're so invested in it. You're not just taking pictures for and it's so interesting because I know that this is also a business, right? And so I'm just going to jump to that question immediately. How do you maintain telling stories and making sure that your work is not diluted, and also trying to make money from it? Because I know that we're working with clients, sometimes they want what they want, and you're trying to tell them, okay, you know what, we need to do it, we need to be creative as well, can't just put stuff out. So how do you balance that?
There's a whole conversation around the business of photography in the photography industry, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of it. I respect it, and I know that it's a thing, and I know that there's a huge number of people who need to understand it. In fact, I had to understand it to be able to build a business that I do right now. But it does definitely help cause you to struggle with your creativity and creating things. I think for me, it's first of all learning, like I said, and building experience over time. Like I'm not jumping into it. I started. If you understand the trenches I started with,
we're coming back.
Like I'm coming from a place where like my first shoot, I charged my first paid work. They paid me 10,000 naira for a fashion shoot that was 10 outfits. Do you get what I mean? So it's like I'm coming from there, and over time I've learned, and so I think the first thing for me that helps me balance both the creative and the business part of things is respecting my work as a creator. First of all, understanding that what I create has value, and because it has value, people would want to pay for it. People should pay for it. So understanding that, first of all, helps me to, manage how much value to place on it and how, to interact with people on that side of things. So it takes a lot of studying and learning, right? Learning the business so that you can do it both internally, and sometimes it might actually mean you delegating it, finding somebody else who understands business more than yourself, and like letting them handle that for you. There was a period of time where I had like an agency who managed me, so they were responsible for handling negotiations and stuff like that. It didn't work out in the long run. Like it was not a long time that we worked on it, but I did learn a lot from the process that that I go with that, and then I apply that. Now, the way I think about it, I don't try to overthink things. I say, okay, this is what I charge, this is how and then I'm very detailed with all my transactions. So once I have the negotiations and confirm that this person is interested in creating, I send an invoice that has like a breakdown on the work that I'm delivering and payment information and all of this. Sometimes the contract is necessary, so I put that as well, kind of just to make sure. But those things are not discussed on the set. They are discussed before the shoot. So by the time it's time to create, I'm not thinking about the finances. I'm not thinking about the business of it. I'm thinking about, in this moment, this is what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to make sure that happens. You also mentioned, or you asked the question about how like some clients can have their own specifications. Like, so thankfully I have learned a lot. So my skill is diverse enough to understand the business side, the client side of things as well, because I have worked in 9 to 5. I know what sometimes they require to deliver what they need to. And sometimes they may not necessarily see the full creative vision. But if you have the time to, and if you're not rushed, you can help them understand it. So you can also, something I try to do is also, okay, at the very beginning of the shoot, I deliver what they want. This is what you want, let's do it. And also, can we try something else? If they trust you enough, which I try to create that, atmosphere of trust where we have conversations ahead of the shoot. So they kind of know the kind of person I am and they trust me. And sometimes when they even hire me, they're like, what you do is what we want. You get some, but sometimes they want something different. So you create what they want and then do what you want. And usually at the end of the day, they always go for what you created by yourself, because when they see what they asked for and what you did, and you do both of them, they were like, okay, this actually might look better. And yeah, that's usually the case for me.
I think it's very interesting that you satisfy what they want. Like you give them what they want, and then you do what you do best. And then they can see the difference between the two. And if they still try to stick to what they want, then they have it. Yeah. And I think that's really great. Part
of being a professional is understanding that clients will have their own specific needs, and it means being able to meet those needs no matter how you feel about it. Do you understand what I mean? So if they want something that is simpler than you expect, like usually if you ask me, sometimes they're usually simpler, except maybe it involves something else from outside. They're usually simpler. It's stuff that's okay, mundane to a certain extent, but in that moment, it also takes you being the photographer to show them this is also possible. This is also what I can deliver for you, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it.
You know, you mentioned something about the trenches, and first of all, when you say trenches, it does not come out of you properly because you do not look like the trenches at all.
I am thankful to God for that.
We thank God. Yeah, we thank God for everything. But we're going to come back to where we were coming from.
Go ahead.
Right? So I think that anyone, I mean, I'm not even trying to bust your head. You're one of the leading Nigerian photographers. They currently, I know if you're going to mention 5 photographers, I'm sure that your name is going to come up. And that's huge, because Nigerians are so talented.
They are.
Nigerians are so talented, and for you to be one of the top talents, let me tell you something. Give me your clothes. Let me touch it so that they can.
The hem side.
Yes. Let me just touch it so that it will, because I'm serious. I'm not even joking. Don't touch it. You're taking some of the talent away. Let me touch everything.
Let me also flow back too, because
look, you're so good. But I know that you didn't just wake up and a lot of people will see you and maybe see how much you charge or see the pictures and just be like, oh, yes, it's great, but it's not impossible. But you know your journey. You know where you're coming from. Like I said, you didn't wake up yesterday and today you're just the best at it. So tell me a little bit about the journey.
I usually say that I started officially in 2013. So this is about 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. Okay. And because I actually wanted to learn from people, I wanted to get do some internships, try to but I didn't get that opportunity. I didn't know anyone. Coming from where I was, it was just I had to figure things out on my own. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest things for me, because I didn't get to learn from anybody. I did not have to figure out how to do something a certain way, the way that other person I was learning from does it. I had to fail and learn and build and fail and learn and build, and that's kind of the process that I had to go through. I didn't have any formal training, so I got the camera. At first I was borrowing a camera. A friend of mine would borrow me his camera. I just used and take pictures of everything. I took pictures of cloud. I took pictures of ants, leaves, just everything to kind of just see, like just for the fun of it. And over time I was developing it was not conscious. It was just, that it was just something that happened. And because I had to figure a lot of things out, I had to learn a lot of things. So even now, when I teach photography or when I teach, about, there's something I usually describe it as how to see. It's not just how to take good pictures, about how to see, because there's a different perspective. People can come to a particular place and say, oh, this place is trash. But I come there and see potential because, I know what can be created in those spaces, right? So it's because I have come a long way. Like, I would want to work with somebody and they would not answer my DMs, that kind of thing. And then now they're the ones sending me DMs to kind of create with me because.
Come on. Gosh, I love stories like this. You not scroll up. You just read it and be like, you know who you are. We both know. Like, we're not talking about it, but we know. Please continue.
But it's just very interesting because it's like I had to get. I understood it then that what, I may not be able to get the access to everybody as I would like right now, but over time, by creating more. So the one thing I know that I did was I did too much. Like, a friend of mine was helping me like go through my pictures for the stuff that I put on my website when I was building it. And she's like, Lex, you have a lot of work. Like, you have a lot of things that people have never seen. I'm like, yeah, because I've been growing, I've been building, I've been creating. I do this thing where, like, no matter what happens, I do like personal shoots at least 2 or 3 times a month. There was a time where I used to do every day. Like, I would go a whole week and I'll shoot like 5 times, like different shoots. I've done shoots the same. So another thing that I try to do is that even when things are scattered or when things fail, like, okay, the model did not show, the makeup artist is not sure, I will still shoot. No matter what happens, I will find something. I will shoot air. I will shoot see, there was time I actually had a shoot and the model didn't show up.
Right.
But the makeup artist was there. I shot the makeup artist.
So you're not going to let anybody stop you.
Yes, I would create, and it would turn out okay, because it's
you guys, are you hearing? Do too much. You have to do too much. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, you're doing too much. What's your business? Do it.
It's necessary to build. Sorry. It's necessary to kind of get, because now I can shoot. You wake me up, I will shoot anything, anywhere, just because I remember when the first light I ever got was a flash. It's this small thing that we put on our camera. It's called a flash, right? So I had a flash, and then I had my camera with a 18-55. Photographers will know that basic lens that comes with everything. I used to shoot everything. I didn't say, oh, because I don't have the best gear, I don't have this, I don't have that. I shot everything with it. Then when I made 10K, I bought 5K light stand. So I used 3.5 to buy the thing for holding the flash. So I bought those 2 things, and then I was using that. So I was using the flash. So the camera has an inbuilt flash. So I'll use that flash. I'll turn it on, but I'll put nylon in front of it because the flash is not very flattering, because just kind of pointing at it. So but I'll put that on and then slave the flash, so that the flash, when I trigger this one, that one is the one that will light. See, I have when I figured that was something that I could do, it was so crazy. And then I bought after when I made another 10K, I bought a beauty dish, and I remember I used that beauty dish flash and stand setup for like 2 years before I could now get something else. You get what I mean? So right now, if there's lights in the area, I can use it. If there's natural, I remember I shot with natural. Basically, the idea is a lot of people don't learn with natural because natural light is scattered and you don't control it. But because I had to use that, right now my understanding of light is something else. I just know how to manipulate it the way I want to, so that I can get the kind of images that I want. You get what I mean? I remember I would shoot. I didn't have a softbox, and I had just the flash. I'll point the flash to the right wall, just like to create directional light. That process, I cannot. I mean, of course, I would have loved it to be an easier process, but I think that what I have learned so far would not have come if I had an easier process of learning. Do you get? Because now, if I had to explain all these things to people, I know why, not just the hows.
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean? I know the whys. I know the way to think about it, not just what to do. Do you get what I mean? So I'm grateful for that learning process.
I think it's very interesting because right now it's almost like you had to learn it, right? And now you have the knowledge. And even though right now you have like obviously more sophisticated gadgets, you can still work with little and still produce great work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's great. You guys, if Lex Ash is telling you that you should do too much, right? And he's at this point and you are struggling, like me now, or you are struggling, we're little and all of that.
How are you struggling?
You know what? You are a guest. That's why I'm respecting you.
I appreciate it.
So as I was saying, just do it all. And I like the fact that you didn't have a lot, but you still managed to create. And also, you talked about how 10K will enter, you used to buy gadgets. You didn't talk about food, spaghetti.
To be fair, at that time, I was still living with my parents.
Right.
So at least I know that in the evening, I'll go home and I'll eat. Even if I know a track day, at least in the evening, I'll go home and eat. You get? And then on something I usually tell people, I think that we creatives, we underestimate the power of working a 9 to 5. For the first, between 2013 to 2017, I was in 9 to 5 life. Like I worked in what's it called, an FMCG, Unilever. I worked there 2 months. And then I did my youth service in a radio station. And then I worked in tech for another 2 years, 3 months before leaving, right? And the amount of knowledge I gained about professionalism, about processes, about operations, about handling, working with other people, I don't think you can get it from just just going straight into the creative world, right? Because like there's a lot of what's it called, knowledge to be gained from being in those spaces. You learn about basically professionalism at a different level, because you have to be professional when you work with other people. You have to respect people. You will face people that you do not like, and yet you still have to find a way to manage them. You would face people that that come with totally different ideas and ideals from you, and you have to make that work. You can't say that, you can't deliver on your work because you don't like the person. You get what I mean? And that's one thing that I cannot like. So I tell, and then it also helps because I could say no to some work, because I had a sort of income coming from somewhere, right? I could say no, meaning that I also was able to continue placing value on my work as I was learning. So I created at my own time to a certain extent, but then also I had that 9 to 5 to kind of grab. So yes, 10K here was more a savings thing than so I'm earning 25,000 naira from my internship job. As I'm doing that, so I need transport to be going back and forth, and of course to eat as well. Thankfully, I would eat when I get home at night, and then maybe there's food in the office as well. But like, I was able to save a little bit of money, so that's why I said 10K here. It's not like I'm getting 10K at once. It's like I saved 10K. Yeah, that kind.
Oh my god, that's even worse. Sorry.
It's okay. But we've come along, but I'm thankful. I'm really thankful.
Do your family members rate you?
That's a very good question. No. You want to go into photography. You want to take pictures. Where is the money there? Especially when I wanted to leave my 9 to 5, it was a struggle between me and my dad. He didn't think, he said, was like, stay there 2 more years. I'm like, no, there's no way. Thankfully, I was a rebellious child, just a little bit. I know I look gentle, but just a little bit.
That's hard to believe.
It's what it is. I was a little bit rebellious, but then they understood, and I would think that to a certain extent, I give glory to God, because like they've always also seen kind of an anointing in my life. So they kind of just respect it. So even when they disagree with what I want to do, and if I've told them that I've prayed about it and it's something that I've decided to do, at first there's a bit of pushback, but they will just let him do what he wants to do. Once it's balanced, we will see how it goes. But now every now and again I go home, my dad's like, let me see some of your recent stuff. I'm like, look at it, here it is. And it's like, okay, well, very nice. Do you know my friend's son is getting married soon? Talk to them now. Maybe you can shoot their wedding too. In my head,
so now he's very proud.
Yeah, so they are proud of me. I'm thankful for that.
So you don't get that starboy treatment at home.
Starboy. To be fair though, they also don't see me very often. If I should stay like 2 days, the next thing, I can't wash the car. It's just so that
you need to know when to leave.
That face.
When to pop in and when to get out. You need to keep it fresh.
Yes. Absence make the house grow fonder.
Exactly. Okay, so what is a common misconception that people... I know that you said that now people think that you're gentle meanwhile you're rebellious.
I am gentle.
Okay.
Rebellion and gentility is no she's stupidity. I'm just
gentility
saying,
or she's stupidity.
But it's not. The rebellion is more of a standing your ground, even if it goes against the typical norms and expectations that people place on you. So people will tell you that I'm stubborn to a certain extent. My manager will tell you that I'm the most stubborn person that she knows. But yeah, it's always for the best. It's always like we have to have this back and forth so that we can get the best possible. That kind of thing. Yeah.
So tell me another misconception that people...
I think people think I'm rich.
Is that a misconception?
It is a misconception. I'm not rich. I'm trying.
If you're not rich, what are we?
Help my life. Which camera should I look at? Please help my life.
Please don't listen to him.
Yeah, don't invite me for
Don't listen to him. Exactly. Please, you think that if you were struggling, we will invite you?
It doesn't matter.
Sorry. No, okay.
I'm looking for mine.
You do know that it does not help that you do look like this. You should have rough yourself up a little bit. Don't iron your shirt. Come here so that we can believe that you don't have money. Now look at you looking all great. Look at your shoe. Look at my shoe. Who in between the both of us has money? But you know what? Let me not even talk too much.
I have great accounts.
Can you imagine?
If you want to send dollar, euro, pounds, naira, I have.
You know what? At
Send
this
me
point,
DM,
yes,
the Lex Ash on Instagram.
why are you selling? Why you asking our viewers for money? I don't understand. Please, Lex Ash,
I don't want to
pull out your Instagram.
I don't want to send somebody.
Okay, you know what? We're passing our boundary on this podcast. We're passing our boundary on this podcast.
Somebody groundnut, please.
You know what? And we're going on a break. Cut. Who are the most influential people in your life?
Thank you very much for that question. I would say my parents, my dad and my mom. From my dad's side, it's like one of the biggest things about him and his life and the things that I have learned from him is the whole learning things. He's someone that I feel like has a vast knowledge bank. Do you get what I mean? So it feels like he picks a lot of things from everywhere, and it's kind of one of the most intelligent people I know. And then also integrity. Like the one thing that I learned from him, as much as everything else exists, is that like no matter where I am, no matter what I do, like integrity is like super important. I don't joke with how people experience me because of that man, you know. And then my mom is somebody also who's like, she's kind of also the reason why I try a lot of things, because I've seen my mom like do a lot of, she made beads at one point. Now she's a teacher, and she taught me a lot. I remember I was much younger when she would involve me in when she was, you know, helping people proofread books and all of these things, and we have all these conversations. She's such a nice and caring person, both not just for her family but her friends, and you know, and all these kind of things just kind of feel like they've influenced my life and kind of molded me to being the kind of person that I am today. So I don't take the relationship I have with them for granted, and all the things I've learned from them. I feel like they're kind of the most influential people to me. They may not necessarily directly relate to my work, but if I think that a lot of these life, you know, lessons kind of apply across board. No matter what you're doing, if you have integrity and if you know how to present yourself in front of people, it's something else. And if you actually genuinely care, it makes creating easier, because you think about how other people can feel about the work that you're creating, all of that. Yeah,
I can already see how both of them tie into the way that you are, because it's so clear. It looks like they like to just learn and do things and try things, and it's so clear how you've turned out. It's I don't know, it's just like you were saying how it might not directly relate, but it actually directly relates to how you are, to everything that you've been saying before. I see it now. I see that it's coming from a place of learning, and it just seems like they don't try to stifle you.
No,
and
it's crazy, because to a certain extent I usually consider my dad to be the typical, you know, go to school, get a job, get married, have children, eventually die. but how did I even get the camera for the first time? My dad heard me trying to borrow camera at one point, and then he's like, oh, if I get you this camera, I hope you're not going to allow it to affect your studies. And you will not understand how shocked I was, because it did not seem to, like, I did not see it coming at all. So it's kind of a big deal. I had to pay him back for the camera eventually, obviously, but the fact that he saw that and then did that, that was one of like the biggest like influences like in me getting into photography, because of course if I didn't have the camera I'll probably not have anything to use to practice, and the energy or the eagerness to kind of learn and build and grow may not have been there. But he saw it and he's like, you know what, you know, let me help. let me and yeah, I had to pay back. Like it was I'll buy it for you, pay me back. I'm like, yes, no problem.
And you actually paid back?
Of course I did. Of course I did. He's an accountant, you know, they play like that. But I
That's
loved it
such a
so
wholesome
much.
story. That's such a wholesome story. Okay, so I was going to say that. Okay, so if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I would like to be remembered for being the difference between having a slow or a not so great life with feeling better about yourself, and you know. So for me, it's more about how people feel based on their interactions with me, not just photography and not just because all these things are just, in my opinion, tools. I want people to feel like their lives are better and different because they've met me positively.
I would never have given that answer.
Oh, you answered that.
I don't know.
Try.
Actually. What would I like to be remembered for? Should I be serious?
Be honest.
Okay. To be honest, I just want to live life. I just want to be happy. Like, I want people to always like remember that I was happy. That's all. Like, I want to genuinely enjoy life because in the past few days I just realized that like I've been shown that life is so fickle and I could literally die tomorrow or today. And I just want to enjoy my life. I don't have to have a lot of money. And I know that's Nigerian dream. You have to have money. But like I genuinely want to. Like yesterday, I wanted to eat noodles, and I ate noodles, and I was happy.
Fantastic.
And that
Small things.
Exactly. Anyway, let's come back to you. I really love the fact that you're just very honest with your work, and I get that a lot as well. Or do an invoice, but add more money to it, and then you take. And I've always thought that there was something wrong with it, but people have been telling me that this is how the industry works and that's just how it is. So I recently just started being a creator because I have been creating anonymously for so long, and I also had my job. So I never really faced it, but now I'm facing it and I'm seeing a lot of things and people are telling me that this is how the industry works and all of that. But it's great to meet people like you who will say, okay, maybe that's how the industry works, but that's not how I work. And I love it so much. I think the next time someone does that to me, I'm going to refuse it. I will drink.
It seems like it's a normal thing. Like I'd rather like you people can do what you want to do where you are, but this is my invoice. That's what I'm giving you. If you pay it, that's fine. If you lie to your people, feel
then
free.
that's
It's not
fine.
me, but it's my own, because I've seen how it affects other people, where they have an invoice and they what's it called, share it, and then the client now goes over the agency and goes to meet them and I said, but why is your bill this high?
Yes,
and then you're like,
yes.
that's not what I charged.
Right.
But then the agency will now blackball you. Stuff like that. But you know what? My life is not in the hands of agencies.
Yes.
It's in the hands of
It's
God.
in the hands of God. I love it.
So it's superior to whatever they want to do.
I love it so much. And God will like never fail you. So
He doesn't.
So what are some of the most impactful lessons that you've learned along the journey in photography, business, and all of that?
So it's just incredible because like I said, it's just a lot of learning. So but I'll kind of just focus on the first things that come to mind. And the first one is consistency. There's nothing you don't the only way to get better at anything is by doing it consistently. And when I say consistent, it's not like you have to do it every day, but like at least think of it every day. And doing it every day might not necessarily mean creating exactly every day. It might also be learning more about it every day, like finding time to experience it. I experience that form of art, beyond your own creation. So sometimes I go for exhibitions. I want to see how other artists are thinking. Sometimes I also I'm always watching videos on photography on YouTube, stuff like that. And for somebody who has been doing this now for 10 years, you would think, oh, what are you watching tutorials for? But it's not just about the learning thing. It's just seeing how other people imagine things, how other people think about things, and it helps, especially when it's like on a global scale, right? So you learn, the things you learn may not necessarily be specific, but it's just like some under G things that kind of just help you think about things a different way. So that consistency is important. The second thing is being honest. So I don't think about how other people are doing things all the time. I mostly try to say, okay, so this is how they're doing it, but like what speaks to me. How can I make this about my, like, what I feel? And then the third thing is treat other people well. It sounds like it's a general life thing, but it's important because how people experience you, how people feel when they leave you, it resonates. So next time they're meeting you, it's kind of like in their head, I had a good feeling being around this person. I know I'm going to have a good feeling right now. Do you get what I mean? And of course, people are seeking all the opportunities to feel better about themselves. And if you are that kind of person, if you are that space for them, you will go really far. So I get a lot of clients. It's not just about the pictures. It's about, we're friends now because like they had a really good experience spending time with me, even though I was taking pictures of them and their families or whatnot. I get people giving me feedback about how like, or when they needed me to not be there, even though I'm taking pictures of them and I'm not there, those tiny moments where they wanted to be in there, I was, like the fly on the wall, that kind of thing. And that's the way I feel like I can tell the best stories, because people feel a certain, positive way about me being in their area or with them, that kind of thing. So if you treat people well, you get the best experience photographing them, you get the best experience, relating with them, and that's it for me.
Okay, so we also touched on this, how your Nigerian heritage plays a role in your work. And I know that you talked about how you didn't see a lot of representation. How do you see that happen? And also, the way it was back then is different from the way it is now. So how do you contribute to that now?
So it's very interesting because we have both progressed and regressed at the same time. It's crazy. I'm talking about the whole creative industry right now. We have progressed in the sense that there are more people that recognize Nigeria and Nigerian creatives and our work. We have also regressed in the fact that, but the regression is not from the creative side of things. It's just a political thing. There was a time where we had access to traveling to the UK and all these other places without having to use visas, or even if you had a visa, it's much easier to get them. So moving about and getting on a global scale was a little bit more like different. Think about people like Fela, who was in the UK and built his band there before moving back to Nigeria. So it was a thing you could do, right? But now, if you build here, you're mostly a champion here. It feels like your creation is mostly streamlined to this space, right? But then at the same time, there's some things like football, like music, that has kind of just broken that glass ceiling, as it were. So for me, what the future can look like generally would be a situation whereby if you're known here, if you're good here, even as a photographer, a content creator, or anything, you are recognized globally. So you're not just influencing, for example, for just Nigerian customers or Nigerian fan base. You're also influencing on a global scale. So how have I contributed? Thankfully, God has blessed me. So as I create and I put it out there, I'm huge. Like I think up to 30%, and I've never been to the US, but up to 30% of my followers are in the US and on a like basically scattered across the world. So whatever I do, whatever I created, or I create, gets to be seen, and that's thankfully social media has made that a little bit easier. But beyond that, to having the power to, I think the consistency still applies, because it's that consistency that gets more people to experience and know about you and your work and everything. And so I would say that to a certain extent as well. Another thing I do is I try to educate people. I try to share my knowledge as much as possible. Right now, I just finished, actually at the very beginning of the month, I rounded up a free mentorship program that I was doing for 2 months, and I'm excited to see what those people are going to be doing with their creativity from now. But it's just small things like that helping to create the future. And the funny thing is that the mentorship was not just Nigerians. It was people. I had somebody in Germany, I had somebody in the UK, stuff like that. So you get that kind of thing. So it shows that people are recognizing that there's value here.
Yes.
You get, and with the little I'm sharing with them, they will take that, and that can expand. So it's small bits of things like this that kind of just helps put our name out there.
So everybody's trying to build a like a personal brand, or maybe not everybody, but creatives are trying to build a personal brand. What sets you apart? What makes you unique in the photography world or the space?
I think the first thing which I mentioned before was the fact that I didn't get to learn from anyone. I would have liked to at the very beginning. So it's not like a thing of a badge of honor that I'm self. No, I don't see that, that because I think that instead of calling it self-taught, I would rather say I am world-taught, right? Because I had to figure and learn things as I go, right? So that first of all just makes my perspective on things very different, right? Then secondly, I absorb and consume a lot of art. So it influences the way I think about my art as well. I kind of learn from other people as well. Then also the consistency thing. So the thing about branding brand itself, building a brand, is that no matter what you do, when people see it, they can immediately identify you.
Yes.
And the only way they can know what you look like is that you are consistently presenting a certain way.
Yes.
You get what I mean? So the reason why we know, when you think of Milo, you think about a green bag, you get that kind of thing, because you've seen that green thing consistently over the years, right? When you think about Indomie, you hear that then like automatically that this is Indomie. Do you get what I mean? Because there's a consistency, in that sound or in that color or in that thing. So so over the years I have built my photography creating and learning, and just building. And I think that to a certain extent I have developed an eye. The eye that if I see something that does not look like what I do, I'm not just satisfied with it. Do you get what I mean? So at the end of the day, it has to look a certain way. So that consistency in looking that certain way has, so, and it's not developed by just, this is what I want to do, it's developed by over time, creating consistently, and, you develop that, so I think that consistency and the fact that, like, I'm very honest about myself, what I like is what I do. Do you get what I mean?
So you talked about consistency, right?
Yes.
And you've mentioned it several times,
Yes.
and there are lots of people out there that find it very hard to be consistent. And it's not even because I also deal with it. I deal with imposter syndrome, and I think I asked the last our last guest. So could you talk about how, maybe for anybody out there that's listening that is just struggling with consistency, could you just help with something?
So the first thing is that imposter syndrome, at least so far, in all the years that I've been near photography, I don't think it ends. The question is, are you going to continue allowing it to affect you and stop you from doing what you're going to do? No. Be afraid and you still be doing it. Be impostering and still be doing it. Do you get what I mean? Like, don't say because you feel this way, you can't do. Like, there are times when, like, I don't feel like creating at all, but then I'll push myself and create something, and it will drain me, to suck my blood, so much so that, like, I may just shoot for 1 hour, but I'll be useless the rest of the day. And when I say useless, I mean I can't stand up. Like, I'll be lying down in bed. But that's because I have kind of pushed myself. But at the same time, I also respect the need for rest. You understand what I mean? But the thing for me, consistency, like I said, it's not necessarily only just creating. It's also learning during the downtime. It's also building. Because there's some times where I usually talk about my Pinterest a lot, about how the fact that, like, I have been creating Pinterest boards since Pinterest existed. Started, like, since when it was created, since when I found out about Pinterest for the first time. I created stuff that I will not be able to do now. But when the resources present themselves, I'll be able to do so. I have Pinterest boards that I created in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017 that I'm only just creating now, or that I still haven't created because I do not have the resources. So those times when you have, like, small bursts of inspiration, either you write it down or because there'll be times when you don't know what to do, or you just feel that. So that's when those things matter. I'll be sleeping one night and I'll literally wake up with an idea and I'll just write it down, and then I wake up in the morning and I can't do it, but then I know that it's there. When the time comes, I'll be able to, go back to it and create it. Do you get what I mean? So it's like, it's not just about the actual creation, but all the processes that that build up to that. So that's why that's where I think about consistency. Right. Another thing is consistently also talk about it. You're having conversations with a friend. You bring in your work because you don't know where you find inspiration or insight from somebody else. You know, stuff like that. So that's the way I think about it. You know, so.
I love
if you are feeling challenged on with regards creating something new, create something old too. Like go back and look at what you've done and try and see what you can do too. And it doesn't always have to be perfect. That's the one of the things. It doesn't always have to be great. It doesn't always have to be revolutionary. Because that is you did something this way. You can do it again like that. You can do it 10 times and you will still come out differently. I usually come out sometimes and look at the sun, look at how it hits my hand. I'm like, today will be a very nice day for pictures. It sounds crazy, but I know because I've over time built that knowledge. Because sometimes I know, okay, you can take your camera and do the exact same light setup. Kule would know. You can take your camera and do the exact same light setup, and it will come out differently than the last time you shot with it. No matter how perfect, you try to make it. But it's the fact that you did it and do it tomorrow.
And do it
next tomorrow. Just keep doing, because there'll become a time where you understand it in a level that you cannot even explain.
So this actually ties into my next question, which is for someone that is out there watching you. I'm sure that a lot of, like you said, you have mentees everywhere around the world, and so many people. No, I'm not
That's
even.
Not the way I said it, but okay. It's okay.
You do have mentees around the world, but. And there's just someone that is looking up to you, and they can't even DM you because they're scared, right? And it checks out, you know your own journey, but they see you as up there, and that's how they've met you. They met you up there, and they're just like, I just want to know. Like, so if you could talk to someone right now that is just trying to start out with photography, what advice would you give them?
Apart from the consistency. There's also collaborate horizontally. Usually, a lot of people you say, or they say, oh, they want to work with this person. Okay, yes, you want to work with this person, but this person may not have the time to work with you, or they may not have they may not see the value you bring yet. You get, so work with people that are on your level. So you are just starting out as a photographer. Work with models that are just starting out. Build with them. Over time, you get better. Then you build, you climb up, right? Those models too can climb up with you, or you can find people on that new level. You create with them. You get what I mean? So build, collaborate horizontally and build vertically.
I love that, and I because a lot of people want to work with the big guys, and yes, a lot of people want to work with the big guys, and sometimes it's just not, they just don't have time, and you can't be entitled.
Exactly.
It's not like they're ignoring you, they just don't have time for everybody. Right?
Because
so
if they actually did work with everybody, you may not see the value anymore.
Right. So you've talked about how you're doing different things, but is there anything that you're excited for? Any upcoming project? Anything you're excited for the future?
So 2 things that I'll mention for now. The first one is my music. I'm really into that right now. I'm excited for all the music I'm going to be putting out and the projects I'm working with and all the people that I'm working with. It's super exciting, and it's just like a refreshing, adventure. It's not easy at all. Like, it's a lot of people only see the popular ones when they come out. For every Davido, there's like 100 people. For every Burna Boy, there's like another 500. Do you get what I mean? And it's not like those people don't have talent. It's that, the light shines on people differently, that kind of thing. And at different times, you get what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm doing music and I'm excited about that. The second thing is that I have like an exhibition that I'm trying to pull together. I'm still working on the build up, because it's going to be unlike anything that anybody has ever done. It's crazy because it's like, it's very daring. It's something that even now I don't even know how I'm going to make it happen. But I know that once God has put something in my head and in my mind, I have to depend on Him to make it come to pass. So it's like, I'm excited to see how that comes out, because even me, I'll be awed by it by myself. But, yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I wanted to mention one more thing. You know how like you're a photographer and people be like, come and shoot me now. How do you deal with that?
I laugh with them. I say, well, of course now. Just let's discuss it. Let's discuss it. And part of the discussion is the financial.
It's the rate card. Okay, so it's been a pleasure having you on the show. It's been a pleasure. Like it's really been like, it's just been very, 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 very interesting. As much as it's been fun, it's also been I've learned so much, and I've also learned that you didn't just wake up and you were Lex Ash, right? You built, and you didn't like, you're just saying you didn't build like you built horizontally, and now you're up there. And also like morals, I've just learned a lot. It's just a very awesome episode, and I loved having you here.
I loved being here. Your questions are very deep, and
thank you.
I learned a lot as well myself.
Thank you.
Because being able to articulate these things, and it kind of made me say, okay, this is what I'm doing. What I've been doing, and I'm thankful to be here.
Thank you.
Take it for granted.
Thank you for accepting our invite. Okay, to all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Limitless by Gray. I enjoyed it so much. I hope that you learned so much from Lex Ash. And we'll see you on our next episode. Please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to Limitless by Gray. I love you so much.